I'm going to start remembering to do this because I did not do this for the PC K3 video, but I'm always going to put a too long didn't watch at the beginning of each video because I know your time is valuable and you may not be able to sit through more than maybe 1 or 2 minutes of a review video and you want everything at the beginning. So make sure to always QC your board and make sure that everything is included and nothing is missing. Record a continuous unboxing video when you receive your board or before you build it or before opening the keyboard in the event that there's damage in order to prove your side of the story. There were issues with the PC tops of the in-stock floats, but the upcoming group buy won't have PC tops, apparently, just aluminum tops, so you all should be fine. But be aware of what's acceptable and what isn't in terms of board damages, QC issues, and make sure to find the QC disclaimer. The PC float is a fantastic office board because it's lightweight. It also uses vial, so that's awesome if you're a vial enjoyer. And all you need to build the board is an H1.5 hex bit and possibly a flathead screwdriver if you don't want to use your fingers. In my opinion, 350-ish shipped for this board is great value. And depending on your typing surface and or desk, you may experience a slight rumbly sound when typing, similar to the Frog TKL or the OG Frog Mini, but not as severe. But if you're sensitive to those noises and you know that your typing surface or desk results in rumbly sounds, you may not like this board. What's up, everybody? I'm back again with another unboxing, build, and review video for this board that I'm going to talk about. Again, this video may be super long, so please use the timestamps below to skip to whatever part of the video that you like. Unboxing to start off with in the middle, a build guide, a review portion at the very end. And again, because the sound tests are super long, like multiple hours worth, they're not part of this video. So if you want to just go to the sound test videos, they'll be linked in the description below. Let's get started. It's been a while. It's been a couple weeks since this board was purchased. This board was purchased by my friend, and then I looked at it and I said to myself, "Oh, damn, this is awesome." Because personally, I loved the W1AT from Gion. I gave it away for free to another friend of mine, and I miss it every single day. So, in my opinion, this board was something that not only was super cool, but something that I could see myself using. However, I don't impulse buy as much as I used to, which is a good thing, and I simply just didn't want to allocate funds to buy another board at the time because this was like a week before Christmas. I want to show off this box real quick because when she brought it over, I'm used to normal plain boxes, and I know Click Clack vendored for iNNStudios for the US at least, and the ARC 60 that I bought many years ago also came in a similarly designed box. And what I mean by that is, if you can see here, this box actually has the specs on the outside. I think it's, first of all, to help who's ever QCing or packaging so they know, okay, this goes there and whatnot. But it's also kind of pretty cool. It has a lot of specs on it. So I crossed out her order number, obviously, but it says iNNStudio keyboard series, the Flo-AT. I'm just going to call it the float. It shows the front height, mounting style, dimensions, everything. So that's pretty cool. Top and bottom case, upper badge, lower badge, weight bar, 8 silicone feet 70A durometer, pour on bottom pad, aluminum or carbon fiber full plate, 1.6 millimeter PCB, unified daughterboard, JST connectors, case, velvet wrapper, souvenir card, and post. Card and post. Okay. 20 silicone gaskets, 50A, and 1 8U stab wire. And then I flip it over here, and these are coordinates to, I guess, iNNStudio. I don't know, but it says the float. So she bought the HHKB PC Alu variant. So the top case is PC. It's an HHKB layout. The bottom case color is Alu, so I think greenish. External weight stainless steel PVD. Solder or Hotswap PCB is not checked, but I'll tell you why in a minute. ANSI aluminum plate in the same color. I guess the same color as the bottom case. But yeah, what she bought was the board, obviously, and she also added on so it came with a choice of PCB, right? And then she also added on a soldered PCB and a Hotswap PCB. So she selected a soldered PCB to come with the case. She bought an extra soldered PCB and she bought an extra Hotswap PCB. She bought the carbon fiber plate and she bought the PP plate. You have the carrying case itself. And this little portion here says float, HHKB PC top case, Alu bottom case, stainless steel PVD weights, ANSI aluminum plate in the same color in stock. Cool. Okay, so I've never had or even looked at any in-studio boards at all in general. I know nothing of in-studio. So that means if I say something bad, hey, who cares? Because I don't have a relationship with them anyways. Okay, so there's a little, what is this? Can you support the, I guess so. So if you want to clip this onto something, maybe a carabiner, there's that option. Although I don't know how I feel about carabining a keyboard onto like a backpack or anything. But okay, pretty cool. This case seems kind of warped somehow. Seems like this front part is closer, like the front right part is closer to me than the bottom right. I don't know, the case is warped or something, but it's kind of uneven. I don't know if you can tell. You can't tell there. Can you tell here? Kind of. I guess you'll just have to take my word for it that the case is kind of uneven. But I mean, if it was me, again, this is not my board. It's her board. She couldn't give a shit. She couldn't care less. I could care less. As long as the plate protects, as long as the case protects the keyboard, as long as the zippers work, it's fine by me. I'm not that, I don't care that much, and I don't think she cares that much about case design. So let's open this up. Ooh, okay. Oh, this is cool. This somehow reminds me of the blankets that I have downstairs in my cat's bed. But yeah, there was one thing that fell out because I opened this real quickly right before I started recording just to make sure the keyboard was there. But this little piece of, I guess this is the post of the cardboard. Yeah. Okay. Cool. It says float. It says float there. Yeah. Nice little thing. But let's go through these little pockets first, this main one, and we'll save the keyboard itself for last. So we have a lot of screws. Shine out to the camera there. Oh. Top mount. So obviously this goes with top mount if you want to top mount it. What's the next one? Gasket mount. GAS. Gas. That's what I had this morning because I'm lactose intolerant and I had a gallon of milk. Or had a bowl of cereal with milk. TMI. Whatever. Gasket mount materials. Awesome. Thank you. What is this? This looks like the JST cable, daughterboard screws, and the daughterboard itself. There's that. Thank you. If you're like me and you've either been in the hobby for quite some time or you just like buying spares, you have a lot of unified daughterboards and JST cables laying around. I even have some Molex JST because I have some Geon boards, Ligera boards, and I have some CanKeys boards. So regardless, this is obviously very good because you can't just assume that someone's going to have all the material. So to include the daughterboard, even though it's universal, always a good thing. And accessories and case screws. So these must be the feet, huh? Or these are gaskets. I don't know. We'll see. I haven't looked at a build guide or anything. And then we have the case screws. Cool. So that does it for these little pockets here. I like how there's little pockets like this. I'm sure I've had a keyboard case with these little pockets before, but I can't remember. Maybe a Neo board or something like that. But anyways, let's open this top pocket here. Oh my gosh, there's so many things because she got 3 PCBs and all the plates. What is this? Okay, so here are some stickers, in-studio stickers. The 8U stab wire, which makes me think that this has 10U support, because some boards have native 10U support. Some boards they don't have native 10U support. So if you have 10U space bars that have 7U stab placements, that'll work. But if you have 10U space bars that require an 8U space bar and they don't work with 7U, then your choice of boards to use that 10U is a lot less than having a 10U space bar that works with 7U stab placements. I'll throw up an image in post because I know that was fucking confusing. I was confused and I was the one talking. All right, let's push this case back and let's start with this PCB. So this seems to be one of the soldered PCBs. So let's open this up. And again, like I say in a lot of videos, or at least I hope I've said it in a lot of videos, you always want to test your PCBs, specifically the soldered PCB, before you solder, because most companies or most vendors, if you use a soldered PCB, like say you solder switches in, and then you realize there's an issue, chances are you're screwed, because the customer service agent or the vendor or company won't know if it's an actual PCB issue that it came with the issue or you caused the issue. So you can do whatever you want. You can just build this board without testing PCBs. Hey, that's up to you. I'm not your boss, but I'm just saying I always test my soldered PCBs and my Hotswap PCBs before I build. And also look through how the case and everything is, make sure everything's there, but we'll get into that later. So pretty standard, which is totally fine. You know how I made a video recently of the K3 PC variant, and I have a lot of James's boards and Bloody's boards, and there's some cool things. Some of Gion's PCBs have funny quotes and stuff like that, but this is more plain, which is totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, you got 8U stab support. You got a lot of layout options. Let's hear. You can split. You can have a 1U 00. You can have a 2U split numpad enter, split numpad plus. So you can put plus and minus. Cool. You can have split backspace. I don't know the holes. That's what she said. I don't know the holes well enough to say if this supports ISO. So maybe it supports ISO. I don't know. I use ANSI. I've only used ISO for one board, which is Thunderburger, Emil's Eclipse. So we also have split right shift support, split left shift support. So pretty cool. Nice. So we'll test this later when we actually get into the build portion of this video, because I'm still unboxing. Sorry I'm so slow. Okay, here are the two other PCBs. Again, one is the extra soldered PCB. So let's open it up. Oh, also, it is the 24th of January, 2026, as I'm filming this. And at least the US in particular has been hit with a huge snowstorm, winter storm. So I hope everybody is staying safe, staying warm. Here in Iowa, we've only got really cold weather, and we have very little snow, at least in the area of Iowa that I'm in. So again, we'll look into this. We'll take a closer look at this PCB when we actually get to the build portion of this video. But I just want to make sure that there's no diodes that are shorn off or any damage. Looks okay. Cool. All right, we'll put this aside and we'll look at the Hotswap PCB. My friend, she is not a solderer. She doesn't have soldering equipment, although I've soldered many of her boards for her because that's what friends are for. So I guarantee she'll never use, or she probably won't use the soldered PCBs, but it's nice that she bought two, or she got one and had the other included. So this is the Hotswap PCB. Cool. Take a quick look. I'll just throw up the image of the layout support as well, because that might have been hard to see. So you cannot split your left shift for Hotswap. You can split your right shift. Just has ANSI enter, You can split your backspace. You cannot split any of the numpad area. Okay, that is fine because as we know, if you want a lot of layout support, you usually go to the soldered PCB. Oh, here's the authentication card. Okay, it says Flo-AT. And on the back, it says thank you, 026 out of 100. Oh, sorry, 026 out of 100. There you go. Cool. 026. And let's look at the plate. So this is the PP plate. Personally, my own preference, I love PP plates with KTT roses or any switch that is of the same material. KTT roses on PP plate, that is my go-to. Actually, KTT roses on any soft plate, PC, Palm, but PP for sure. And then if I ever go with a stiff plate like aluminum, I use Cherry MX linears. Awesome. So this is the PP plate. Not much to be said about that. Don't see any issues with that right off the bat. Here's a carbon fiber plate. I actually do not use carbon fiber that often. And the only reason I would ever buy carbon fiber, for the most part, is just so I can include them in my sound tests. Because I figure might as well go all the way, right? Go all the way when it comes to sound tests. That's why I do 3-hour, 6-hour, 9-hour sound tests, 9.5-hour sound tests. Because I'm stupid and I'm mad, but I love it. All right, so this is the aluminum full plate. And as it said on the box and on the case, it's the same color as the bottom case of the board, which is cool. It has this green, is it mint? Minty green color, aloe, like aloe vera. All right, the 3 plates are here. And something that my friend does not use, she does have a fully foamed up board. She has a Rainy 75. But she doesn't have any other foamed up boards, and she doesn't care for any more foamed up boards. She loves the one that she has. Same goes for me. I have nothing against foam when it comes to boards. It's just that I personally, I only have one board that is fully foamed up, and I use all other boards without foam. So this is the foam, it looks like. Let's open it up just to make sure that everything is there, even though that we won't use it. Let's see what foams there are. I guess this is to be put on the very bottom. So this is obviously not mid-plate foam that you put in between the PCB and your switches and your plate. This is not the PE or IXP foam that helps with that marbly sound that you put directly on the PCB. This is for the bottom case foam. So you have an actual foam layer, and then you have this plastic layer, I guess maybe to help avoid shorting or whatnot. But we're going to build this board plateless. And here we go. I'll also explain why nice and light. Perfect for a office board. I'll explain why I'm making this full length unboxing video later as well. I'll put that in the review section of this video. This is cool. So it is microfiber, but it's kind of sticks to itself, which is super, super cool. I have never had a microfiber cloth like this before. Oh, sweet. It's like opening a present. It's Christmas for me. I did ask my friend if she wanted to unbox it, even if it meant that I wasn't filming her or anything. And she said she didn't care. So she's giving me the opportunity to unbox this. Okay. Just being very careful here. I don't want to damage it before we open everything. Boom. Okay, let's put this to the side. This is cool. It's nice and hefty, man. And it's big enough to, I don't know. Maybe you could have a little picnic, huh? Put it on the ground. Ooh, man. I missed my W1. But the person who I gave it to, I'm glad that you were enjoying it. Oh, this is cool. PC top. I've gotten on a PC kick recently, especially with the start of the PC K3 from James. Oh, this is so cool. Okay. QC Pass. So it says QC Pass by iNNStudio here. I want to make sure that everything is good before I open this to the best of my ability. I usually don't do it, but I'll explain why I'm doing it in the review portion. What is this? Some metal filings or something? Shavings? What is that? Can you focus? Focus? Oh, what is that? Like some metal shavings or something. I mean, I don't know why I blew that. It's inside. Okay, so there's metal shavings or something. But take a look. Oh, time. You see it? Oh, come on, camera. Maybe if I pull it further back. You see that crack? Oh, there we go. You see that crack? Just running through. And then here as well. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to send these pictures. I'm going to send these pictures to ClickClack first before I open up this this wrapping, because I'm afraid that if I open up this wrapping, it's going to be void. Like I'm not going to be able to. I'm not going to have any recourse. You know, maybe they'll say, "Hey, you did this. You caused this." But obviously, since the wrapping is still intact, I did not cause this. All right. Well, we'll talk to you in the build portion of this video. It's been a few days, and I'll explain why I waited a few days to get into the build portion of this video in the review portion of my video. So I'm not trying to make this video longer or to have everybody wait until the end to explain it. It works chronologically, and it sounds better when I explain it in the review portion of the video. But yeah, this is the build portion of the video. And after you've made sure that all of the components are here, you're not missing a PCB, a plate, you're not missing anything that is supposed to come with the float. Now it's time for the build process. We'll use a PP plate. And again, in the sound test videos, I use PP plate, aluminum plate, carbon fiber plate, and also a plateless build, because plateless does work, because you can PCB gasket mount the float. So, okay, we have our PP plate here. So for the soldered PCB and the Hotswap PCB, I test them very differently. And what I do whenever I build a keyboard, regardless of it being Hotswap or solder, regardless of anything, after I make sure all components are there, I then test the PCB. Now, as I said in my PC K3 review video, and maybe some other videos in the past, you don't have to test your PCB if you don't want to. You don't have to do anything that you don't want to. If you just want to build straight from the box, that's fine. But if you do that and something gets messed up with the PCB and you don't catch it until you've soldered the PCB specifically, chances are that voids any sort of claim that you have to get a replacement PCB. So for example, here's my soldered PCB. I have not used it at all. So there's no solder, there's no residue, there's nothing. If I start soldering this and then I realize, oh, a whole row is dead, or oh no, maybe a diode got shorn off, and then I contact iNNStudios or ClickClack in this particular instance, because ClickClack was the person that we bought the boards from, and I tell them, hey, I have an issue with my PCB, and I send them a picture. They'll go back and say, well, we don't know if that was a user error or if the PCB came with that issue because you used the PCB, as opposed to, testing your PCB before you start soldering and saying, hey, there's this issue, there's that issue. Then they're more inclined to believe you. But hey, you don't have to do what I say. This is just what I like to do. You can build your board at your own risk however you want to. You do you. I'm just saying, I always test my PCBs. So the cool thing about this keyboard is that it uses Vial. So not VIA, but Vial. What I'm going to do is I'm going to briefly show how I test soldered PCBs and how I test Hotswap PCBs. So like I was saying in the unboxing part of this video, The PCBs and this keyboard use a unified daughterboard. So if you have a unified daughterboard laying around, feel free to use it, or just use the one that comes with the kit. So what I do with the soldered PCB, I plug it in, making sure that I'm plugging it in correctly, not plugging it upside down. Make sure the contacts are contacting. So I plug in the daughterboard, the JST cable, and then I will take tweezers. Now, I'm going to tell you to get 2 sets of tweezers because in Vile, there's a unlocking method where you have to press down 2 specific switch places. So you'll need 2 tweezers. But anyways, you have your soldered PCB for the float. Use your USB-C cable, plug it in, and let us go to Vile. So I have Vile open, and it recognizes the float. It says INN float on the top. Yep, camera's here. If you want to do any key map changes, this is where you're going to go. You can switch your layers as well. But what we're going to do for testing this PCB is we're going to go to Matrix Tester. And you see on the bottom right where it says unlock the keyboard before testing, you click on that. And it shows that in order to even start testing the keyboard, you have to activate the enter key and the escape key. So I got my 2 tweezers here. I'm tweezering the enter key. So I'm putting the 2 tweezer legs through the solder holes here, where we put the pin switches. Oh, there we go. The progress bar is increasing. That's how you know that you are putting the tweezers in the right place. Boom. All right, active. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to reset. Just hit on the bottom right, I'm going to reset. Take my tweezers, and I'm going to go row by row. Yes, there is an HHKB top for this, but since we have this capability to try out all of the places, then I'm just going to do it. So XT column, bottom row, hit the windows there. And basically that's what you do. So you want to make sure that all of the switches light up, switch areas light up. So you use the tweezers, put them in the holes. Eventually everything will light up here. There we go. Now, I'm not going to do it all because I already did it off camera. What I want to show you is how I do testing for Hotswap PCBs, because I don't use tweezers when I do that. So I'm going to unplug the JST cable from the soldered PCB, place it to the side, and we have our Hotswap PCB. So I'm going to plug in the JST cable and daughterboard to the Hotswap PCB. Make sure it's there. I'm going to plug it in. And what you'll need now, boom, in float Hotswap HS. I go to Matrix Tester. Instead of 2 tweezers, take 2 switches. Whatever switches, doesn't matter. Just take 2 switches. So I got my switches here. KTT Peaches on the bottom right of Vile. Hit unlock. Same 2 areas. So what I do is I put 1 switch where the enter is supposed to go. Put 1 switch where the escape is supposed to go. And when they're in, press down. And there we go. Take my switches out. Now you just need 1 switch. Bottom right, hit reset. So I take my switch, and for each row, put the switch in. You don't have to go all the way in. I'm just putting the tip, and I press down. There we go, it actuates. Go to the next one, press down. Actuates, press down. Press down. Basically, the same thing as we did with the tweezers, but with the actual switch itself. Now, can you test Hotswap sockets with tweezers? For me, I don't know if I'm going to damage it or anything, but it's not as reliable. And switches are just super easy. You're going to need switches anyway, right, to build the board. Put the switch in, press down, actuates. Put the switch in, press down, actuates. So yeah, that's what you do. That's what I do to test Hotswap and soldered PCBs. So both PCBs have been tested. And now what we're going to do is we're going to get to the actual building of the keyboard. Because this is the first time I've ever built a float, and I want to make sure that everything is correct, I will use the build guide. I'll link it in the description below. It's the user manual. It's in Chinese and in English, so that's awesome. So just to recap, step 1, make sure that all the components are there. Is your case there? Are your PCBs there? Are your plates there? Does everything that the kit says comes with the kit? Is it all there? That's step 1. Step 2, you test your PCBs. Step 3, you build. What I want to do first is I want to build my internals. And what I mean by that is, and this is just preference, you can go step by step, you can do whatever you want. What I want to do first is I want to put my stabilizers in, I want to put my switches into the plate. So I want to build the internals of my keyboard first. So I'm going to sneak over here. What I like to do, again, this is just me, or maybe it's some of you as well, but what I like to do is I like to have some of these stab testers. And the reason why I like these stab testers is because I can already mod my stabs. I already have my stabs ready to go. I use cherry clip-in switches. So I can clip the stems of the cherry clip-ins, I can lube them, and I can place them in my stab tester. So when I build the board, all I have to do is pop them out of the stab tester and use them. This is my preference. This is what I like to do. You don't have to do the same thing. I like to have everything ready so I don't have to lube everything and this or that when I have the board, when the board arrives. So we're going to use a 7U bottom. So I'm just going to pop out the 7U. And the cool thing about using a stab tester is you can make sure that the stabs sound good already. So I put this 7U stab there. So I'm going to use, this is the Hotswap PCB. I'm not going to split my left shift. I'm not going to split my right shift. I'm not going to split my backspace. I'm not going to split my enter. So I'm going to need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 2Us. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then the 7th 2U will be here. All right, let's start popping these bad boys out. Oh, you know what? I want to split my right shift, actually. I already lubed, modded these KTT peaches beforehand, because when I build a board, I just like to build everything. I don't want to worry about lubing switches or stabs or anything like that. So this is an HHKB layout. The plate fork basically supports the plate, because if you don't use a plate fork and you push the switch down, let me show you. You see how the plate goes down with the switch? See? So I have to manually raise up the plate. So it's, yeah, there you go. With a plate fork, you don't have to do that. You can just put it in between the PCB and the plate, and you just put your switches in. All right, through the magic of editing, I have installed all of my switches. And what I'm doing now is I'm making sure that all the switches are sitting flush, and I'm making sure that the plate isn't sagging, because it's a PP plate. It might be sagging, but because I use a plate fork, there's no sagging. Now, what you can do now, if you really want, is you can plug this back in, whether it be a Hotswap PCB or a soldered PCB. You can plug it back in with your USB-C cable, and you can test to make sure that all the switches are there, are working. So if you're using a Hotswap PCB and a switch doesn't actuate, you can pull it out, see maybe you bent a switch pin, and straighten it and put it back in. If it's soldered, if something is not actuating, then maybe you soldered it incorrectly, or there may be another issue. So if you want, you can plug PCB back in after you put the switches in and test it once more. But I'm confident that I did not mess up for this Hotswap build. So we're now going to go and build the board itself. Grab my screwdriver kit. John X Natch. Nanch Gion? Gion Nanch. Gion, please sponsor me. I'm just joking. So we're going to unscrew the top case from the bottom case with a hex bit. What size is that? Again, if you check the user manual, what is this? 1.5? Oh, I'm so good. First try. First try. So the case screws are 1.5 hex bit. Oh yeah, also, the reason why I use two hands when unscrewing is I actually have nerve damage in my left hand. And it's not because of a motorcycle accident like Simon. It's because an ex-girlfriend of mine loved to bite. And you can use your imagination in terms of when she liked to bite or how hard or the places. But one time we were watching a movie in a movie theater. It was Brave, actually. The animated Viking movie. She fucking bit the shit out of my left hand. So I still have nerve damage in my left hand, and I can't really. I don't have. Was it proprioception? I don't have much feeling in my left hand. So in order not to mess up or to smash this screwdriver into the bottom case or the top case, no matter what board I'm building, I just use two hands. So you can make fun of me for my screwing method if you wish. And I will say, because the top is PC, very prone to scratches, very, very prone to scratches, and prone to damage, like I was showing. The screw areas have fractures in it, so that's dangerous, right? So he took the bottom case and the top case apart. I'm just gonna install the daughterboard. I know. I'm not following the build guide. So put the daughterboard in and make sure that you have the correct orientation. You'll know it's not the correct orientation because you'll see that there's no USB-C port. So what I did to build this, I built my internals. Well, I put my internals together, which is basically putting the stabs, the switches into the plate. I built my internals, right? Internals built. And then what I did next was I unscrewed the top and bottom case, still using the same 1.5 hex bit. I screwed in the daughterboard, making sure it's the correct orientation. 4 daughterboard screws in the accessories bag, 1.5 hex bit. And what I made the mistake of doing before I realized it was when I went to top mount this bad boy, or to install the top mount. Actually, this is always around. There we go. What I did first was I put the internals into the top case like this, and then I tried to install the screws. Now, do it the smarter way. You see these pokey thingies? Part of the PCB, part of the plate. So the PCB has the pokey thingies, but that's for gasket mount and to mount if you want to use plateless. You don't need to use a plate for plateless. So the PCB has the pokey thingies, where the holes are, and the plates themselves have the pokey thingies. So what you do after you marry up the black silicone parts to the top mount case, to the top mount screws, is you take the unit and you put it in. Oh, can I do this on camera? Oh, okay. I can do this. You put it in. Like so. Oh, the other way. You put it in like so. Can you see that? Oh, that's... So the plate pokey parts are holding on to the black silicone parts where you threaded the screws through, the top mount screws. And you're going to do that for every single pokey part. Pokey part is such a scientific term, huh? All 14 installed into the plate, not the PCB. Top mount install into the plate. And now we match up the cutouts to the top case, like so. Yeah. And then we screw. And then we screw into the top case. Now, the build guide also says this, but you do not need to tighten the screws until they're fully locked in place. Leave a small amount of travel. You don't want to over tighten. In a lot of things, not just when it comes to keyboards, over tightening is bad. You don't want to over tighten, especially with this PC top. So just be careful and screw it until the screw catches the top plate, the top of the case, and just let it be. Okay, so what you can see as well, since the top case is PC, you can see how far each of the screws have gone into the screw areas. So if you see that one screw maybe is not screwed in as much as the other screws, you can screw that in. But again, you don't have to tighten the screws all the way. You want to leave some room for movement. And you don't want to over tighten, especially when it comes to PC cases. You don't want to crack the PC or anything like that. All right, so that's it. That's top mount. And all you do now, excuse me, make sure the Sony camera gets this. You plug in your JST cable to the back of the PCB. You close everything together. And you remember those case screws? When you remove the top case from the bottom case, use those case screws to screw in the top case back into the bottom case. That's it. But we're not going to do that right now. I want to talk about gasket mount. So I showed you how to do top mount with a plate. Now there's two ways to gasket mount the float. The first way is to use a plate. And that's what I'm going to show you right now. So think of this as step 5B. The third way is to gasket mount it plateless. And I'll show you that after this. Let's call it step 5C. We have your internals, switches into the plate on top of the PCB. We take our gas bag that says gasket or gas. Come on. Yeah. It says gasket mount. It says gasket mount. Obviously, you know what it's for. Let's just pour it onto our work mat. Pretty easy here. So up to this point, if you are not using gasket mount for the float, all you need in terms of a screwdriver bit is that H1.5 hex bit. When you use gasket mount, not only do you have to use that to unscrew the top and bottom case and to screw in the daughterboard, you'll need a flathead screwdriver. The flathead screwdriver is used to screw in the gasket mount pillars. I think they call them limiting pins. They basically look like metal dildos. That's what or like little metal canisters, metal canisters. So we have our internals here, and we have these squishy silicone transparent barrel thingies. Squish, 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 squish. All right. We have the limiting pins, the metal dildos, the gas canisters. It's like if you have a flat in your motorcycle tire, and those CO2 canisters that you can inject. And the third thing that's in that gas bag are these black silicone spacers. That is for plateless gasket mount. So we're not going to use that for our plated configuration here. What I like to do, even though the user manual says to do it the opposite way, but what I like to do is I like to install the limiting pins into the top case first. So you see the same places where you would use top mount. So you have these limiting pins, and you have a bunch of them. What you do is you screw them in. You don't have to use a flathead screwdriver. You just use your fingers and you screw them into top case. Technically, you're supposed to use a flathead screwdriver, but I'm just going to use my fingers and making sure to Well, when you're using your fingers, obviously you can't. It's more difficult to over tighten, so it's a bit safer if you use your fingers, unless you're Superman or somebody with really strong fingers. But basically, I'm screwing in the limiting pins into the top case. And hey, if you want to use a flathead screwdriver instead of using your fingers, go for it. This is just easier for me, and it gives me a bit more control. The user manual build guide tells you to use a flathead screwdriver, but whatever. So you have all of the limiting pins, the 14 limiting pins. You've installed that into the top case. Now what you do is you see these silicone barrels. They're actually not uniform. One side is shorter than the other. I'll throw up the picture in the user manual, the build guide. But basically, you want the shorter end facing the bottom of the PCB. So you have your PCB plate switches. I'm gonna hold it like this. Switches up, bottom of the PCB down. You want the shorter end to be pointing downwards. The shorter end of this silicone barrel. Look at it. Look at it right now. The top is fatter and thicker than the bottom. And all I'm going to do, making sure that the short end is pointing down and the thicker, fatter end pointing up, is I'm going to go all around the PCB and I'm installing the silicone barrels. So I'll speed it up in post. Remember to be installing these barrel gasket thingamajiggies on the PCB itself. You don't install the gasket mount on the plate. And that's that. That is gasket mount with a plate. Pretty easy, right? The user manual tells you to thread the limiting pins through the gasket barrels first before you place it into the PCB. But for me, it's just easier doing it this way. It's easier to screw in the limiting pins into the top case first. But hey, you do you. And then after this, all you do is connect your JST cable and daughterboard to your PCB. Slowly lower the top case onto the bottom case. Hey, look at that. Even with a PP plate, gasket mount is not extremely soft in terms of feel. I'll venture to guess that plateless is a bit more softer, but it's nowhere near a trampolini typing experience or anything like that. And there you go. That's that. That is gasket mount with a plate. So now let's do gasket mount plateless. All right. So you want to use the float plateless. But before we do our plateless build, we're going to have to solder. And say you want to solder plateless. What do you do? If you turn this over, well, all your switches are going to fall out. This is what I do. Again, what I said in the PCK3 version. PCK3 review video. I like to find a solid piece of cardboard. The sturdier, the better. And what I do is I place the cardboard on top of my switches, and then I use rubber bands to clamp everything together. I think Simon uses photography clamps, or he has photography clamps in his Amazon affiliate link page. So if you buy it, he gets a small amount of that. So he uses photography clamps. I use rubber bands, basically rubber banding everything together. But do you know what? The good news is we do not have to use the cardboard today. Do you know why? Because we have a stiff plate that fits on top of our switches. So what I'm going to do is I'm using this as a cardboard. I'm placing this on top of my switches here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to rubber band this all together. And there's many different strategies to solder plateless, right? This is just something that works for me with household items. Don't need photography clamps, don't need anything. You just need cardboard box. If you don't have a sturdy plate to sit on top of your switches, just need a cardboard box and you need rubber bands. So let's rubber band this thing. And like I was saying in the PCK3 review video, while you're soldering, just move the rubber bands. So obviously you're not wanting to solder the rubber bands themselves. Could you just solder one switch leg and then go and solder the second switch leg on the second pass through? Yeah, man, absolutely. Whatever works for you, whatever works, what doesn't damage your PCB or just anything that works, man. This is my strategy whenever I solder something plateless. If there's a plate for that board, or let's say I have a back and echo or something, and I have a universal 60% plate of aluminum or brass or copper, just put it on top. Look at that. Look at that bad boy. Switches are not going anywhere. And you flip it over and you start soldering. So we have our soldered PCB. We have our switches soldered in. I'm going to show you how to build the float plateless gasket mount. And do you know what? Before I started soldering and everything like this, I showed you all how to build the float with a plate, gasket mount with a plate, and how I told you all to use your fingers to screw in these limiting pillars, the metal gas canister looking things, screwing it into the top case first. That's actually going to help us in terms of mounting this plateless, because you know what? We already did the first step. So if you want to use gasket mount for a plateless float, you install the limiting pillars, as we did with our fingers. And then, do you remember in that gasket mount, the gas bag, we had those black silicone O-rings? Yeah? What we're doing is we are simply putting these on top of the limiting pillars. Just putting them through. Basically, they act as spacers. So let's just place them all. There's 14 of them. So we've added the O-rings. We've threaded them through the mounting pillars on the top case. And what we do now is we take those same silicone gasket transparent barrel thingies and we attach them to the plateless PCB. Again, we want the short side down, short side facing down. I've installed the 14 gasket silicone barrel thingies onto the PCB on the mounting points for the gaskets, and that's plateless gasket mount. So let's close up this bad boy. We have the bottom case. Take the JST cable, plug it into the PCB. Oh, careful. Don't know if you can tell right now, but let me try and. So I wouldn't say it's a soft typing experience in terms of, let me think. In terms of the ARC 60, for example, it's not stiff by any means, but when you're typing normally, I don't know if you can feel the softness in terms of typing feel. Again, just make sure that you're not over tightening. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. We've screwed in the top case into the bottom case. You may think that you didn't screw enough because there seems to be a little gap between the top and bottom case. That is supposed to be there. That's a design. That's not you not screwing far enough or making a mistake in terms of putting everything together. That little space, it looks like there's a space between the top and bottom case. That's a design feature. It's totally fine. So don't feel like, oh no, I need to tighten all my screws again to eliminate that space. No, don't do that. You're going to crack the top case or even worse. And now, you basically could have done this step way earlier. Sometimes I do it way earlier. In the accessories bag, we have the adhesive feeties. So we need 4. And it's nice that iNNStudio gives you 8. If this is your first time ever building a board, it may seem daunting, okay? But with anything, if you have enough persistence, determination, and you really want to do it, and you read the build guide, and you take things slow and steady and not rush anything, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Nice. So, hey, guess what? It's nice minty green. I was going to use DCD Flower Journal by Maria Jose, sold at Drop. But actually, I'm going to use Bubba Ball. Ball's GMK Dandy. Ball and sour? Sour and ball? Sour ball. Sour balls. Balls and sour. You know what? I've always seen content creators or streamers do the GMK box, touch the top of the keyboard, and then cut to the keycaps being there. So let's do that. So I'm gonna grab all these keycaps. I'm gonna drop them on top of my keyboard, and through the magic of editing, this is either gonna look really shitty or really cool or whatever. Wow, that was a cool transition, right? I don't know. I'm very happy. I'm very happy at how this board looks, how this board sounds, especially plateless. And I guarantee you that my friend will also agree. And that's the build part of this video. Let's get to the review portion of the video. Review time. Even though this is the shortest of the 3 total parts of this video, between the unboxing and the build guide, it's arguably the most important. The reason is because I have a general criticism, an actual criticism for this board. But we'll get to that after I go through the normal review portions. So first disclaimer, iNNStudio, I have no idea. I probably have seen their boards or designs through the Group by IC review videos, streams that Black Simon does. Or I've probably seen their boards here or there, but I have yet to put a board to their name. I'm not saying that they're not well known. It's just that me personally, iNNStudio boards, they're not in my circle of keyboard knowledge. I don't hear about them that much. At least I don't remember hearing about them that much. But so obviously they didn't pay me to make this video. They have no idea who I am. This board is not even my board. This board is my friend's board. She had no idea who they are. My friend that told me and my in real life friend about this board, he bought this board. I don't think he knew who iNNStudios were, but yeah. So I wasn't paid to make this video. These words are my own. This is Huber the Mad. These are my words. So in terms of the keyboard triangle, I always try and do my reviews with the keyboard triangle in mind. Sound, aesthetics, feel. So sound, aesthetics, feel. Wherever you are on the keyboard triangle, maybe you like sound more, maybe you like aesthetics more, maybe you're right in the middle. It's preference, right? In terms of reviews, I want you, the audience, to be very aware that there are many subjective things when it comes to keyboards. If I say, or if some other reviewer says that this keyboard sounds great, that's subjective because what I may like may not be what you like in terms of sound. If I say that this keyboard looks amazing aesthetically, aesthetics is a preference. Maybe you like weights that look like wedges, like my good friend Spooky. Maybe you like one-piece keyboards. Maybe you like very simple designs. Maybe you don't like curves. Maybe you don't like screwless. Aesthetics. It's all preference-based. So if I say the aesthetics of this board is amazing, or I like the aesthetics, that doesn't mean that you have to like the aesthetics. You like what you like, and don't let anyone else put you down or say that your opinion is invalid in terms of preference because they like something that you don't like, okay? I like this. I understand that you may not like this, but this is my opinion. And also be very receptive. Be as receptive as possible to other people's opinions. Hey, I like cherry clip-ins. Oh, hey, I like screw-in stabilizers. I like the screw-in stabilizers because of this, this, and this. I hate cherry clip-ins because of this, this, and this. And you, the cherry clip-in person, okay, I understand that. You know, I acknowledge your opinion. We're all in this hobby together. We all have different preferences, and we all enjoy the hobby in our own different ways. That's totally fine. So in terms of aesthetics, my friend absolutely loves this. I absolutely love this. I love the aesthetic of the back of this board, the curves. It's not super intricate, right? It's not the most intricate in terms of back design. It has a small weight, pretty small weight. There's no internal weight. Um, yeah, it's you can see through the top case, obviously, for better or for worse. There are little swoops here and there, and there's it looks like there's a gap in between the top and bottom case, but there is not a gap between the top and bottom case. It's just the design language. I like the looks of this board. My friend likes the looks of this board. And for me, somebody that values aesthetics over sound and feel, sound becoming second, if I don't like the look of a board, I'm not going to buy it, even if it sounds amazing or even if it feels amazing. So aesthetically, yeah, this is great. In my opinion, I like the look of it aesthetically and specifically the layout. Layout is pretty cool. In terms of sound, I've just been getting into PC boards. I had a QK60 that had the top case as PC and the bottom case as Alu. I love that thing. I loved it. And then obviously I just had the video of the PC K3 from James. Absolutely love that board. In terms of sound, I would have thought that PC boards maybe would dull the sound or maybe mute the sound if using the same switches and the same keycaps. But actually, they might a little bit, but in my experience with just the few PC boards that I have, the sound is great, man. I mean, plateless with Cherry MX Browns, the tactiles in the combinations that I use in my sound tests, the linears. This sounds fantastic, in my opinion. I like high pitched. I don't like to use a lot of foam. I don't use any foam except for one board that has fully foamed up. It's a board that I believe that can be taken into the office, and as long as you don't use something super, super high pitched in terms of switch, say you use Cherry MX Browns plateless, like this configuration it is in right now. It's not going to interrupt. It's not going to annoy your coworkers unless you work in a library or something like that. The one issue in quotation marks in terms of sound, depending on the desk depending on your typing surface, desk mat, so on and so forth, you do sometimes get that rumbly sound, like a Frog TKL or a Frog Mini, the original Frog Mini. You know, the Geon boards with the long strip feet. They can tend to give a rumbly sound when typing, depending on your desk, depending on your typing surface. On my friend's super cheap Costco plastic fold-out table, rumbly sound. Not to the extent of a Frog TKL or a Frog Mini, but it is a little noticeable. So if you're if that really irritates you, if you're someone that can't handle that rumbliness and you have a plastic desk, so on and so forth, this might not be the board for you. It's not overwhelming, but I can notice, and she noticed that it affected her desk, her typing area. For me, on my solid wooden desk with one normal desk mat, 4 millimeters in thickness, it's lessened for sure. It's still there, but I really have to focus to hear it. So for me, not an issue. But if you're very perceptive, or if that annoys you, and you don't have a solid wood desk, or you had a Frog TKL or a Frog Mini and you didn't like that sound, this may not be a board for you. We'll see if it's the PC case. We'll see if the group buy units that are fully aluminum, because the PC top, it's not going to be offered during the group buy, apparently. We'll see if there's still that rumbly sound. In my experience, it's all about the feet. If the strips are super long on the feet, but the feet here aren't super long, so I'm not sure what exactly is causing that issue, but just something to be aware of. Typing feel. My favorite typing feel in terms of softness would be the Itar 87 or QFRL and the Migra TKL, both from the Bloody EZ. Whether it be bottom mount or top mount with a super soft plate, the typing feel is amazing. I can actually notice how soft of typing feel. too soft of a tapping feel. Was it the JRIS 65 round 1 with the 1.2 millimeter 1.2 millimeter thickness PCB with flex cut plateless? That was horrible. That was like a trampoline, tapping on a trampoline. And on the other spectrum of the typing feel, for typing feel, you can have a super stiff typing feel that may fatigue your fingers. And don't get me wrong, back in the day, a super stiff typing feel or a rigid typing feel, that's something that was somewhat popular and people enjoyed. You may not enjoy a super soft typing feel. You may not enjoy a very stiff typing feel. This board is neither. This board is right in the middle. It's comfortable. It doesn't fatigue your fingers, regardless of it being in top mount, gasket mount, or gasket mount plateless. I tried with the PP plate, aluminum plate, and carbon fiber plate for both plated gasket mount and top mount. And I wouldn't call it a soft typing feel, but I wouldn't call it a stiff typing feel either. It's comfortable. You're not going to be fatigued typing on this for 8, 10, 12 hours every single day, in my opinion, unless you have something, some issue with your hand or something like that. But yeah. So all in all, I think this is a great board for the price, mid 300s shipped. The fact that iNNStudio shares the plate files are public, which is awesome. You can cut plates. The fact that iNNStudio includes a lot of things and has a user guide, user manual, uses Vial. Everything is pretty cool. One thing that I would have wanted, and again, this might have raised the price, so maybe in the end, this was something that it's good that they didn't include it. But the keyboard kit had basically everything you needed to build the keyboard, beside the switches and the keycaps, except for a screwdriver, specifically a screwdriver with a 1.5 hex bit. Because while you're supposed to use a flathead screwdriver when screwing in the gasket mount limiting pins, you can easily just use your fingers. So I don't think a flathead screwdriver is a necessity. But in terms of removing the case screws, installing the top mount, installing the daughterboard, you need that hex bit. So it would have been nice if they included that hex bit. If they did, then the keyboard kit basically had everything that you needed. You didn't have to have a Geon/Nance screwdriver kit or some other screwdriver kit from Amazon or AliExpress. If they included that hex bit, it would have been awesome. But hey, again, maybe the costs were too much to include that. I don't know. But here is the issue. This is the issue that I've been dancing around, waiting until the end of the video to talk about. This is my in real life friend's board. I have another friend, never met him in real life, just chatted on Discord, started as good keyboard friends, became good friends in general. I won't state his name, but I asked him if it was okay to share his story. He bought this board, one of the in-stock units, PC top. When he got the keyboard kit, he was missing a PCB. Okay. Mistakes happen, right? Unfortunate, but mistakes happen. So he reached out to ClickClack. ClickClack sent him a PCB. Perfect. Okay, right? I also noticed in the Discord that someone got sent a Win keyless unit instead of a Win key unit. And unfortunately, because iNNStudio do not have any extras, they can't send them a Win key unit. Okay, that's more of a bummer, right? You can't just send a PCB to fix that issue. There's no extras. Okay. But my friend experienced something else. So he got his PCB, and when he opened the wrapping, the shrink wrap, you remember the shrink wrap that encased the keyboard? When he opened it, he didn't build it. Remember, the top and bottom case were connected. They were screwed in by the factory. We didn't screw it in, right? They came screwed in together. But when he opened the shrink wrapping, he didn't assemble his keyboard. He noticed two of the mounting points where you use the top mount screws or you use the limiting pins for gas. And I'll throw up the pictures of my in real life friends unit, the one I have here. When I was doing that unboxing like an hour ago in this video, same fractures, same places in the mounting areas. That's not good. So my friend emailed ClickClack. ClickClack said after talking to iNNStudio that this was deemed customer fault. So they would not be replacing or they would not be doing anything. So they blamed my friend. That's not good. So when my in real life friend got this board, he told us, hey, whatever you do, check the top case to make sure there are no fractures. And whatever you do, don't remove the shrink wrap before you do that. That is why I recorded the continuous unboxing vid. That is why I made an effort to list 2 mounting points, and I took pictures and I went, oh no, that's not good. And I'll throw up the video here showing the actual damage. And you can see that the shrink wrap is still on my in real life friend's unit. So I told my friend, hey, yeah, we experienced the same thing, but we did not remove the shrink wrap. So what we're going to do is we're going to take pictures, we're going to take a video, and we're going to send it to ClickClack. And hopefully, because I didn't open the shrink wrap, they'll be able to fix it, right? As opposed to what you did, and you removed the shrink wrap. Well, come to find out that on the iNNStudio Discord, one of the iNNStudio staff members was chatting with other people, and they said that for Chinese sales or keyboard sales in China, the customer has to record a continuous unboxing video, and if the board is shrink wrapped or plastic wrapped, they have to take a look at the board and make sure there are no damages before removing that shrink wrap for Chinese sales. Because if they remove the shrink wrap, user error if you find a mistake, if you find a damage or something. But the iNNStudio staff member also said that for international sales, which this was because ClickClack vendored for the US or sold these units on behalf of iNNStudio for the US, in those situations, iNNStudio will follow whatever the vendor's guidelines are. Like this time, ClickClack. And specifically said, and I'll put the message here, the Discord message here. You can still see it, I think, unless it's been removed. If you go in the iNNStudio Discord, they specifically said you can remove the shrink wrap in order to take a look at the board to see if there are damages. That is totally fine. Okay, so we've got conflicting things here. So my friend that removed the shrink wrap and took pictures and sent to ClickClack, ClickClack said, after talking with iNNStudio, we can't help you. It's your fault for removing the shrink wrap. However, the iNNStudio staff member in the iNNStudio Discord said the opposite. Hey, it's totally okay to remove the shrink wrap, right? As long as you don't fully build the board, if you remove the shrink wrap and you take pictures or you find damage, yeah, that's on us. That's our mistake. So we've got conflicting sides here. And it's unfortunate that my friend was blamed and there was miscommunication between ClickClack and iNNStudio in terms of what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. My in real life friend's unit didn't remove the shrink wrap and there was still the same exact damage. ClickClack responded and said, hey, yeah, that's our bad, or that's iNNStudio's bad. We'll give you a $50 refund. And okay, that's good. I guess it would have been better to have a replacement top case, and even if that meant waiting until the unlimited group buy. But what can you do? They have no extras of the top case. There's no plans on having a top case of PC for the unlimited group buy. So I guess $50 is $50. And my other friend also was given the $50. And after my evidence, of the shrink wrap not being removed, and after the evidence of the iNNStudio individual stating on the Discord that it's okay to remove the shrink wrap. It's been a couple days, but he said that it kind of put him off of the keyboard hobby. This was the most expensive board he had ever bought. And then there was the PCB that was missing, which, okay, mistakes happen. They sent him the PCB very quickly. Fine. But and then to be blamed for removing the shrink wrap, when in reality, apparently it's okay to remove the shrink wrap. There's miscommunication between ClickClack and iNNStudio. So it's not something that I think was well handled. Was it ClickClack's issue? Was it iNNStudio's issue? I don't know. I'm just telling you what happened. It's very unfortunate. Imagine if the iNNStudio staff member in their Discord hadn't have said, "Hey, removing the shrink wrap was okay." Imagine if I hadn't have kept the shrink wrap on my in real life friend's unit intact. We'd be in the same boat. And my friend understandably was upset because he was blamed and it wasn't his fault. But you know, it's hard to say what should have been done. Yeah, a $50 partial refund, $50. Yeah, that's not a small amount. But there's still the issue of the fractures in the mounting areas. Yeah, maybe we can avoid those 2 mounting areas, and since no PC tops will be made, it's not like we can get a replacement. My friend did ask ClickClack if he could get an aluminum top case once the unlimited group buy is fulfilled. As of the 29th of January at 10:43 p.m. Central, he has not told me that ClickClack has responded to him. So hopefully they send him hopefully they agree to that. But if not, he'll get the $50 as well. So it's just a shame, right? The after sales support was initially lacking. There were QC issues because of the PC, and I understand that PC is a material that's difficult to work with. There's a reason why PC boards are more expensive than aluminum boards. They're easily scratched. It's hard to machine. There could be cracks. There can be issues that you may not have to deal with if you have an aluminum version, right? But yeah, it was just kind of sad. I was disappointed by my friend. I was upset at the fact that my friend was put off from the keyboard hobby. You know, he hadn't bought anything for so long, and then he decided to buy this keyboard, his most expensive keyboard that he ever bought, and then he ran to the issues. What's this to say about ClickClack? What's this to say about iNNStudio? Mistakes happen. Hopefully this never happens again. Hopefully there's somewhere that clearly states, these are the rules. You can remove the shrink wrap 100%, no problem, as long as you don't fully assemble the board. You can remove the shrink wrap to look for the issues, or very clearly state that, if you destroy the shrink wrap, it's on you. But yeah. So my message to you, the audience, make sure you know what the acceptable damages are, QC disclaimer, what's acceptable, so maybe there's like a document that says if a scratch is less than 1 millimeter, we deem it as acceptable. Understand the issues or the QC document for any board that you buy. If there's not a document, reach out, ask, and also understand what to do if you run into a problem. Just be cognizant, just be aware of what to do if there's an issue, what is acceptable. And from now on, me personally, I am going to always record a continuous unboxing video whenever I get a keyboard in. I'm always going to make sure to take pictures if the shrink wrap is there, or if there's some sort of wrapping, because I don't want to be put in a situation that my friend was put in. That's real shitty. And yeah, $50. Okay, $50 as a sorry. All right, that's better than nothing, I guess. But I really hope that my friend gets a replacement top, because $50 doesn't solve the problem. A replacement top would solve the problem. But anyways, in my opinion, iNNStudio's Float, fantastic board, great board. But maybe avoid the PC tops. There's no way, right? Because like I said, they stated that there's not going to be any PC tops for the group buy. So just be aware. Just be aware of your rights. Protect yourself. Protect yourself as much as possible. Record a video. Doesn't have to be, using an amazing camera. It can just be using your cell phone. Take pictures. Make sure to QC your board. Please QC your board. Please make sure that everything is included. Please make sure that nothing is missing before you start building. Because if you do start building and something's missing or there's an issue, you might experience what my friend experienced. And I don't want anybody to experience that in this hobby. But anyways, thanks for watching the super long video. I'm still editing this video as of I'm still editing the sound test videos as of the 29th of January. I will get them done before the end of February. 9+ hours, 2 videos. Love you all. Thanks for watching, and talk to you next time.